themes of Advent is the theme of hope. And I think it's, for a lot of us, it can be easy to lose hope. Something goes wrong in life, something doesn't quite go the way that you planned, and we can get derailed pretty quick. But what I want to share tonight really is the story of two of my favorite saints. And they don't really have a lot to do with Advent per se. They're not usually associated with Advent or Christmas, but they are associated with the theme of hope. And so the first maybe few minutes of this is going to be a total downer. Just throwing that out there as we start here. But then, then hope will follow, I promise. So stick with me. So I want to take you back to the 1860s. The 1860s in Hawaii. And you think, well, that would be awesome. Hawaii, beautiful, amazing. Well, in the 1860s in Hawaii, there was an epidemic of a disease called leprosy. In modern day medical, some of you know better than I, it's called Hansen's disease. And Hansen's disease, leprosy, is highly contagious, very painful. It disfigures the body. And if it comes near you, you're in some trouble. And so in the 1860s in Hawaii, there was an outbreak of leprosy. And so the government at that time responded as best they knew how, I guess, but responded kind of quickly and somewhat harshly. And that was, if you had leprosy, man, woman, or child, you were immediately taken out of your home, put on a ship, and sent to a leper colony. Now in Hawaii, there are multiple islands, there's 7 islands, and one of those islands is called Molokai. And it's a beautiful place, and on the kind of the top side of Molokai, still today people live there. There's resorts, there's beaches, it's a kind of a normal Hawaiian cool place to visit. Well, on the bottom side is a very remote piece of land. It's so remote that back in the 1860s, the only way in was a boat over some rough seas, or if you were coming from the other side, you would have to climb basically the largest sea cliff in the world. You could go on a donkey, you could try to climb it yourself, but it was incredibly dangerous. And so, very much on purpose, this little piece of land, about 3 or 4 square miles, was chosen as the site of the Hawaiian leper colony. Man, woman, or child, if you had it, you were put on a ship and you were sent there for the rest of your life. And so, you can imagine what that was like. You can imagine a hopeless place where people were just simply dropped and kind of provided for, some food, a little medical attention, but otherwise were simply forgotten. Family was forbidden to visit, and you were never, ever, ever, ever going to leave. Ever. Well, into that comes my favorite saint, and his name is Damian of Molokai. Damian was born in the country of Belgium in 1840, and as a seminarian, discerned a call to missionary life. And so he became a priest of the Sacred Heart and became a missionary. And at that time, he was sent as a seminarian to Hawaii. You think, what a sweet assignment. Sign me up. But Hawaii in the 1860s, right, was not as a pleasant place to live as it is now. So he goes there and he's ordained a priest. And he begins his ministry. And he begins on what's called the Big Island. And serves there for 9 years. And he's a parish priest. And he's very studious. He has a lot of energy. So he's building churches and founding parishes and schools and orphanages and just kind of all the stuff that you hear about saints doing. He did that for 9 years. Well, the bishop comes along and asks certain priests to take a special assignment. This happens from time to time in the priesthood. The bishop comes along, kind of taps you and says, I know you don't want to do this, but I need you to do this. Well, in response to that, out of generosity, a generous heart, a missionary spirit, Damian says yes. And he agrees to go to Molokai, to go to the leper colony for 2 months. Well, he gets there, and what he finds is exactly what he thought he would find, which is hopelessness. A group of people, at that time about 700, who had simply thought that God had abandoned them. Ripped out of their homes, put on a boat, sent to the remotest place that anybody knew about, and left there to die. Damian comes as a priest. And what do priests bring? What are we supposed to be bringing? We're supposed to bring the light of Jesus Christ. And so he comes into that. And the very first thing that he does is he builds a church. The church is called St. Philomena's. It's still there. And he builds the church before he even builds his own home. He slept under this huge tree for months and months while he built this church. What he wanted people who were without hope to experience as quickly as they could is that God loved them, that God cared about them, that they were not without hope. And so he comes and he brings what every priest brings. He brings the sacraments. He brings the Eucharist. He brings confession. He brings all of the beautiful sacraments that the church gives us. And very quickly, the place changes. From a place of people without hope to now having the light of Christ in their life and becoming religious people, faithful people. His 2-month assignment became 15 years. And in 1889, Damian died of leprosy. Now, that's the total bummer part, okay? What happened about a year before he died is a religious sister showed up. A sister of St. Francis from Syracuse, New York, named Marianne Cope, C-O-P-E. She was originally born in Germany, came to upstate New York, became a religious sister, founded a hospital, did a whole bunch of amazing things in the city of Syracuse, New York, but felt a missionary call. So her order had heard about the work that St. Damian was doing. They sent her and 5 other sisters to Molokai. So a year before Damian died, Marianne Cope shows up. Overlaps with Damian for a year. There's a famous picture of Damian on his deathbed and Marianne Cope right next to him. So Damian dies, and the work that Damian did is picked up by the Sisters of St. Francis. They are still there. That was 1888. They're still there. How do I know this? 2 weeks ago, I was there. I got asked to come and give a couple talks in Hawaii, and they said they'd pay for it, and so I said yes, because that's awesome.
Why not?
And so one of the days, I took a little prop plane. It's one of those planes where they ask you how much you weigh, so you know which side to sit on. That was weird. So I got to go to the leper colony. Now the leper colony closed down in 1969. Their cure for leprosy came along, and they told the people, you can go, you're free, you can leave, or you can choose to stay, and we'll take care of you. So there's 4 of them still left, and the sisters are still there. One of the amazing things that Marianne Cope said as she was trying to get sisters to agree to come is she said, I promise that if you go to Molokai with me, you will not get leprosy. Bold claim. The sisters have been there since 1888, and not one of them ever got it. Amazing stuff. Damian got it. The sisters didn't get it. I share those two stories with you because that's how we bring hope into the world. My guess is, maybe it's happening to you, maybe it's happening to somebody that you love. You look around and you see somebody in your life who seems kind of hopeless. They maybe think that God has abandoned them. They maybe think that God doesn't love them. And into that, St. Damian simply said, that's not true. And then with his life, with every ounce of his being, Mary Ann Cope, with her life and every ounce of her being, came into hopelessness and brought Jesus Christ, who is our hope. Now, this is Advent by Candlelight, and so I just want to talk about candles very briefly. They're beautiful, right? Any dinner, any kind of event is made better when you light up some candles. Candles have a beautiful place in the life of the church. We believe strongly in candles here at Holy Family Cathedral. I don't know what our candle budget is, but it's a lot. Because the candles kind of bring a certain solemnity. We love to look at them. Well, I hope at some point in your Catholic life, or at some point in your life, you have experienced what we simply call the Easter Vigil. The Easter Vigil is the longest Mass of the year. I've heard Holy Family goes 3 hours plus. Is that true?
Yeah.
I've never been. I don't know.
2.5.
I'm new. 2.5? Oh, that's easy.
2.5.
Okay, no, that's no problem. When the Mass starts, this is the night before Easter. When the Mass starts, the whole church is dark. So the Mass actually is not allowed to start until sundown. So typically we start about 8:15, 8:30 in the evening. The whole church is dark. No lights. No candles. And in walks the Easter candle. If you go upstairs or go to any Catholic church, find the largest candle. That's the Easter candle. In walks the Easter candle held by one of the deacons. And he chants or says, Christ our light. So into this dark church comes one single light, and it's the light of the Easter candle. And then everybody in the crowd, everybody there, whoever you are, everybody gets their own little candle. And from that one candle, the Easter candle, all the other candles are lit. And so the church goes from dark to light in really just a matter of minutes. It's a marvelous thing to be a part of. It's especially marvelous if you're one of those folks who are going to be baptized or going to be received into the church. For their families, for everybody who's there, Christ comes into the darkness of our lives and brings the light of hope. So for us, we have a responsibility, you and I. If we are Christians, if we are Christ bearers, then it's our responsibility to bring the light of Christ out into the world. You know people who are hopeless. You know people who are feeling not just down, but that kind of defeated. And we have the opportunity with our lives, with our words, with our prayers, to bring to them the light of Jesus Christ. Damian did it. Mary Ann did it. And it's the reason the church gives us the saints. Because the saints say, we can do that too. So when you eat tonight, dinner and dessert, and you look at the candles on your table, think about how you can be the light of Christ for somebody else this Advent. Maybe it's inviting them to Mass. Maybe it's inviting them to come to adoration with you. Maybe something's holding you back from being the light of Christ. Maybe go to confession this Easter, kind of get your soul in a good place so that you can be the Christ bearer that the Lord wants you to be. Damian did it, Mary Ann did it, And that's what he calls you and I to do as well, to be people of hope and to bring that hope out into a world that is often hopeless. But with us, and most of all, with Christ at the center of us, we can be the people of hope that the world and that Tulsa desperately needs. Thank you.